Welcome to Personal Online Tutor. This week we're going to talk about how to take a photograph and turn it into sort of a fun, interesting night scene. So we're going to do a couple things in this. We're going to darken this scene and make it look a little bit more like nighttime. We're also going to add some compositing effects such as lightning and rain and a little bit of some window glow. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our scene a little bit more night-like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a layer adjustment, and we're going to use levels. And with our level adjustment, what we're going to do is we're going to take our black slider, which represents all the shadows, and we're going to drag that a little bit inward. And you can see as I drag it, the more I drag it inward, the more it kind of makes it kind of dark, kind of makes it look more nighttimey. Maybe drag the white slider, which represents our highlights, drag that in just a little bit. So my scene's already looking a little bit better. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to make a brand new layer. I'm going to make a new layer by clicking on the Create New Layer option, selecting our paint bucket tool, filling it with black, and then taking the black layer and then lowering the opacity to maybe about 50%. And I'll name this layer Black Overcast. So I'm already on a good way. I've already, definitely taken this scene and made it a lot more like a nighttime kind of effect. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create some lightning. So I'm going to make a new document. So I'm going to go to File, New, or Command or Control N. And I'll make this 600 pixels by 600 pixels, 72 resolution, RGB color mode, background transparent. We can call this lightning. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have black and white as our two primary colors. If you don't have it as your primary colors, you can hit the D key on your keyboard to reset to the default colors. And we're going to select our gradient tool, and we want to make sure the gradient tool is defaulting to the foreground background color. So the way we do that is if you have you can up here under gradient option, mine is not defaulting to that. So I click on it, it gives me this editor. I'm going to click the upper left hand corner, and I'm going to click in the lower left hand corner and drag. And I'm getting a nice gradient here that goes from the bottom to the top. If it looks a little bit different, make sure that you have your linear gradient selected as opposed to one of the other ones. So I'm going to click Filter, Render, and then Difference Clouds. And what I'm going to do is go to Image Adjustments and then Invert. So you can already sort of start seeing sort of the layout of my lightning. But to really focus in on the lightning, what I'm going to do is go to Image, Adjustments, and then Levels. So levels show me a measurement, it's kind of like a histogram of all the colors. So here's pure dark, here's pure white, and everything else is in between. You can see I have a lot of I start kind of in mid-gray and then go to pure white. What I'm going to do is grab the black or the shadow slider, pull it in. As I pull it in, you can see how my scene gets darker and darker and darker. I'm going to pull it in until I get to pretty much, I just isolate one sort of beam of lightning. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select the scene by using Select All or Command A, and then Command C to copy, Command V. In this case, I'm going to rotate this. Depending on what your effect was, you may not have to rotate. And I'm going to set this to screen. So there we go. There's my lightning. I'm going to clean this up a little bit by adding a layer mask. So I'm going to go to Layer and then Layer Mask, Reveal All. Grab a paintbrush, set my color to black, and then making sure I'm inside of the layer mask, just paint away the areas I don't really want. So I'm just going to paint away some of these lesser lightning, and there we go. There's my lightning in my scene. And if I want another one, I could do the process again, or I'm just going to do Command J, and I copy the layer, and I'm going to do edit, edit, transform, flip horizontal. And I'm going to rotate this. And once again, I'm going to grab my paintbrush, set it to black, and then just paint into, make sure my layer mask is selected. And just paint away all the lightning I don't want. So I'm going to have some lightning going behind my sort of haunted house here. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add rain. So I'm going to make a new layer by going to Layer, New Layer. And I'm going to go fill this with white. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool, fill it with white. I'm going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. And I'm going to fill this with a pretty heavy noise level, maybe about like 50 or 60 or so. Make sure it's set to Gaussian and monochromatic is turned on, because I want this to be black and white. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer and we're going to filter, blur, and then motion blur. And where you can set an angle, so you can set what angle you want your rain to come at. And you want to set it pretty long, but not too long, so maybe like 40 or 50. And so we've made sort of our strokes, and then now we're going to set this to overlay. And there we go. There's our rain. And if it's a little too strong, you can just turn down the opacity a little bit. Kind of make it more of a subtle effect. If you want the raindrops to come a little bit more darker, you can go to Image Adjustments and then utilize levels and just drag the black slider up a little bit, and you can see how it's increasing the intensity of my raindrops in this case. Last thing we're going to do is we are going to add a little window here, like it's kind of like a lighthouse. So this is pretty easy. I'm just going to make a new layer, and I'm going to grab my marquee tool, and I'm going to select rectangular. I'm just going to draw over this little window, and I'm just going to fill it with white. Deselect, and then I'm going to go to Filter, and we're just going to apply a simple Gaussian blur. And our end result is it makes it look like there's a light going on inside of this house. So, here's our scene. So here's where we started off with. And here's our final result. We end up with a nice dark and stormy night. This week's design term of the week is web-safe colors. Web-safe colors is a term you'll hear if you do photographic designs for creating websites or anything that's based on the web. And back in the day, sort of the mid-90s, people had different kind of monitors. They had vacuum-based tube monitors, And monitors didn't always have the same color resolution, so some monitors had more colors than others. And this caused a problem when people were designing because they might use a specific color, and then when it was displayed on a website on a certain type of monitor, the color would not come out the way they wanted it to. So in order to prevent this, designers found out that there's about 216 what are called web-safe colors, and these group of colors are always consistent on all monitors. And if you're designing in Photoshop, if you just click on the color picker, there's actually an option here called Only Web Colors, and it will only allow you to use web-safe colors. Nowadays, though, the concept of web colors kind of has gone away since most people these days have really advanced monitors. The only time this may be a factor is if you're designing a website and you're designing graphics for people who might be using older technology, and this might include either people who are older or people who may be viewing this in a third world country where they don't have the means to buy their own equipment, and they might be getting donated from other people where it's going to be older equipment. But all in all, that is what WebSafe Colors is about. And that was your Personal Online Tutor Term of the Week.
Thanks for watching the Personal Online Tutor podcast. If you have any suggestions for tutorials or techniques you'd like to learn, please email them to personalonlinetutor@gmail.com. For more tips and techniques, follow us on Twitter at personalontutor. To learn more about online classes in Adobe Photoshop or personal tutoring in Adobe Photoshop, please visit personalonlinetutor.com.